Hi, and welcome to the Inside Trading Show. This show is all about trading. Every week, we discuss what trading is all about and what are the required habits for you to become a successful trader. We also share trading ideas and themes, all of which are designed to help you make money. Now, as always, my co host is Phan Leung. He's the founder and CIO of Track Record Trading Academy. V, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's good to be back, Brian. Let's talk about trading.
But before that, V, we've got to mark the passing of a very great man in the trading world and trading and investing world. We mark the passing of Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger is the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, investing genius, and Warren Buffett's right hand man. He's just passed away at a ripe old age of 99.
Yeah,
So
can you
V,
imagine that investing for so many years and passing away at nearly 100 and still being well respected as one of the best investors in our generation, right?
and it's quite incredible. So it's not just our generation, but the generation before us as well. And one
Yes.
of the things, a little footnote for people in Asia, he is a huge or has been a huge admirer of Lee Kuan Yew and the Singapore story. So he has a bust of Lee Kuan Yew in his office. Oh, he had since he's passed away yesterday. But he was a great admirer of the Singapore success story, which he just called an absolute miracle.
Yes, that's right. I think anyone who has not yet listened to his interview about the Singapore story should be uh, looking up for the links and listening to him. It's quite insightful, and even then, and the lessons that he provided is still very useful for every nation in Singapore, in Asia. I think, especially ours, right?
So, we want to start then, as we always do, with a quote. So today, the quote is from Charlie Munger.
Yes, and of course, as you said, we mark his passing, and it's tragic that with his passing, the average IQ in the investing community has dropped by quite significant points, because he's very good with a lot of he's very good at sharing his insights, and one of the ones that I most remember is that it says the big money is not in the buying and the selling, which most people think is. It is. Most people think it's about buying low, selling high, and trying to be very cute in between. But what he says is that it's not about that, but it's about it, but about the waiting. So,
And it's really around patient investing, isn't it? Long-term
correct.
investing, patient
Yes,
investing.
yes, and one of the things he also said, which also is very useful and insightful, is that you just have to do only a few trades in your life, and most of the time it's just about waiting for it to outperform everything else, and that's the philosophy of Berkshire Hathaway. They have been long. Some of these stocks that they have been long has been with them since the moment they bought it, and they continue to hold it. And it's about finding uh, great value and sticking to it and waiting for time to pass, and waiting for the compounding effect, and waiting for the great businesses to continue to generate the income and the revenue that you think they will be generating in time to come.
Now, V, one example of that is some of the stock trades that you have mentioned in this show previously that have actually done quite well and really should continue to do well in the near future as well and the long term.
Yes, so it's as we come to the year end, it's always good to review the things we've done this year, the things we've talked about. Otherwise, it's just sitting around and talking nonsense, right? But we want this show to be different. It's about trading. It's about accountability. So one of the themes that we're reviewing is, in fact, the earliest theme that we mentioned in our first episode, right? We said that it was the dominance of AI, the rise of AI, and the continued dominance of AI. And we believe that it is just at the very beginning of this multi-year trend. And in our first episode, we mentioned NVIDIA, the primary chip maker that is providing for this AI development and AI growth. And we if you recall, we mentioned in the episode that it's not just about joining the gold rush. In every gold rush, you want to be invested in the companies that provide the picks and shovels, right? And NVIDIA is the proverbial picks and shovels company in this modern day gold rush. And we mentioned that towards the end of March in our first episode, and in April, I believe it's April, we rehashed this theme and we added to it Microsoft. So it's good to have a look.
And we added Microsoft. If I want to interrupt you at this point, we added Microsoft after they invested 10 billion in OpenAI.
Yes, correct. Well, yes, that's correct. And so to rehash, we look at the charts, right? On 28 March, we actually recorded an episode earlier, but we published it on 28 March. And since then, it's up more than 80%. And that's quite good. Not bad for a year's performance. Barely a year, right? Less than a year. And Microsoft was in late April. We talked about it just before it started to take off as well. It's nearly up. It's up nearly 40%. Nothing to be scoffed at, although it's half the performance of NVIDIA. But this is
NVIDIA is exceptional, obviously.
Yes, correct. But these are trillion-dollar companies. It's not that easy to double and triple, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, correct. So and just looking at the charts is great, right? It provides an idea of where it's come from and where it's likely to go. But also, let's dig into the numbers. We are looking at just in the interest of time, we look at NVIDIA's earnings. And in October, they just announced their revenue, and it was $18 billion. And if you look at the year-on-year change, it's a rise of 200%. But earnings per share is a rise of against last year's similar numbers is more than 1,200%, and this is amazing growth, right? This is a big company. It's not a startup. It's generating growth in more than 10 times of what it generated last year, and even then, it's more important to know that even with revised expectations, everybody is seeing all these huge numbers. They have revised their expectations up, but they continue to beat expectations. In the October earnings, they beat expectations by nearly 20%, and in the July they beat by nearly 30%. So we are seeing, and I could go back quarters as well, but I won't bore you with the numbers. They continue to beat year-on-year change. They're growing at a tremendous pace, but they are also beating expectations. And as long as this continues, I think you just got to stick with it, right? It's not buying and selling, but just sitting around and waiting for it to outperform.
Okay, but V, then what are the potential downsides of this?
Okay, we can talk about the downsides, but let's just talk about the upside first. The increasing demand. This is the latest piece of news. Amazon is entering into a new partnership with NVIDIA to provide AI chip capabilities to their cloud customers, and we are seeing this on a regular basis, right? That more and more companies are taking on this, joining this race to provide AI capabilities to every industry and even the everyday user. But the downside, as you mentioned, I think major downside is the US chip restrictions to China. If given free reign, I think the demand for AI chips in China would just explode, right? I think, but US is quite adamant in trying to curtail the development of AI in China. So this is one of the downsides that is, in fact, adding is weighing on NVIDIA chips, NVIDIA stocks. But and one of the latest headlines is that they are delaying the launch of the new chip to the new China-focused chip, because they were trying to develop a China-specific chip, a chip specifically for China that is allowed under the new restrictions. But this has been delayed, and it's weighing on sentiment. But even with this delay, there's still some upside for NVIDIA, in that the Chinese companies are using NVIDIA graphic cards and gaming cards to use as AI accelerators. So even while they're seeking alternatives, they're still using NVIDIA products. So I think
Okay.
that's a good sign that NVIDIA is well positioned for this continued growth.
I think, okay, and without sounding like a wet blanket, I think a couple of other downside risks as well in terms of the earnings. One is, of course, NVIDIA has big competitors as well. The AMDs, the Intels of this world are not sitting around and doing nothing. So we should expect a flurry of competition to basically come out, particularly in 2024. The second thing is also the fact that certain risks are because these sanctions on China were already expected, were already pre-announced. Before that, China has been stockpiling chips. So that obviously also adds to that whole heightened earnings for NVIDIA this year. What are your thoughts on these two assumptions or these two elements in terms of potential downside?
I think yes. I think it's great to have some wet blankets around to to curb the enthusiasm to make you stay rooted. So it's great, right? You always in fact it's always good in terms of trading to seek out different opinions, and I think this opinion is quite prevalent. It's not something new, and in fact it's something that's much discussed. And add to that also, people think there are still many people who are thinking that AI is just a phase, it's just a fad, and it will fade. Of course, I disagree with that fade a fading trend view very strongly. But what you mentioned is true. They did stockpile, and there are alternatives. But as we showed earlier, even with those things, right, like the expectations of earnings are baked in with all these things, right? That China has already stockpiled, and there are alternatives, and even then we are still outperforming expectations, right? So I think it is quite important to understand it's not so easy, right? It's not like it's very clear cut, and the fact that it's
Yes.
not clear to everybody else, and it's great because even though there are so many uh, headwinds, uh, it is still outperforming, right? So I think it's important to understand this. If even after you have factored in all this negativity and all this pessimism, it continues to outperform, we have to stick with it, right? It's this. I think one of the worst worst habit to have in trading is to just get out of the way just because everybody disbelieves in it, right? But it continues to
Yes.
outperform. It's doing well. There's many reasons for it to not be the top producer of AI chips, but for until it continues unless it starts to underperform, there's no need to worry about it. I think one of the key things that we have to remember is that the growth in demand and the applications in AI that we are seeing, the growth in different sectors continues to outpace expectations, right? Even whatever we are thinking, we think it's going to be great. And I think you probably know I'm probably one of the most bullish person that you've met on this AI theme. We were very early to
Absolutely.
discuss this as you were, and we are still astounded by the progress, right? it's,
Absolutely.
it's not like I read the newspaper and I say, yeah, I told you so. It's like, yeah, I thought so, but I did not expect this to be so fast, right? Yeah,
Absolutely. And
yeah,
also in a future show, and today since we're focusing on NVIDIA, in a future show, we will focus then on Microsoft and break down really why Microsoft is not just a great AI stock to play on, but also its multi-franchise model and how that's really a great long-term stock moving forward.
yeah. We should dedicate an episode to that because it's quite a good long conversation. And in
Yes.
fact, I do learn a lot from you as well when you talk about Microsoft. And I thought I was bullish, but hearing from you, I need to revise my view again. Yeah, but
Now,
I guess that's all the
coming
time we
back,
have today. We'll
that's
wrap
right.
up
But
again with
we go
Charlie
back to
Munger.
this Charlie
Yes,
Munger's theme again, right?
yes, correct. And again, it's not about the buying and selling, but it's about the waiting. And once you get yourself into a good position, unless you're proven wrong, unless there's headwinds that is unexpected, but with all these expected headwinds, it continues to outperform, then what else are we left to do besides just wait, right? Wait for signs that things change. Unless it changes, we stick with it.
V, thank you very much for taking your time to be on the show. That's it for this week's Inside Trading Show. We've been speaking to Phan Leung, founder and CIO of TrackRecord Trading Academy, and this has been BizTech's Inside Trading Show. I'm Brian Fernandez. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.